So I'm going to create the ears for the rabbit that go above the Easter eggs, and then I'm going to use Type Tool to do some sort of text. I don't know if the text is going to go in between the eggs and the ears or what exactly, but it gives you an idea of what we're working toward. I'm going to scoot this off to the right hand side. I'm going to use my pen tool for the majority of this to create the shapes and the objects that I'm after. This isn't really one that is super easier if you go with shape primitives, so I would personally be inclined towards either the pen tool or the freehand tool. I am not awesome with the freehand tool in here. It requires a lot more editing when I'm done with it. Using this, I'm just trying to give you an idea of what that would be like. And there's about 8 million points that would have to be edited using the tool, so I don't find this to be preferable. And it needs to be clean looking when you're finished. So my suggestion is that you use the pen tool and that you try to train yourself to get accustomed to how this works. Don't go with the click, 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 click method, because if you do, it's going to be a very angular and rough looking ear. If you have to go with the click, click, click method, instead of clicking and dragging, which is preferred, then put a minimal number of points in there, and I'm going to show you what I mean. I'll actually show you with the click method, then I'll show you how I would revise. So the ear needs to be something in the ballpark of this shape. It's going to be pointier. I'm going to fix that later. And then it has an inner attribute too, because we have a little bit of a gap, and then we get into the pink portion of the ear. I can't help myself. I'm trying to round this because I know it needs to be. And then we actually continue around to do the framing that closes this ear shape off. Okay, so that's the completed object. The fill for this is going to end up being something Easter appropriate. I'm going to make mine hot pink, and I'm going to turn off the stroke or the border now that the overall shape has been drawn, so you get a sense of what it looks like without the border turned on. It looks terrible at the moment, admittedly, but that is what we're going to work toward and what we're going to improve as we go. And I'm going to scoot it over. My eggs need to be smaller so that I can have a little more Easter Bunny ear space. And the ear shape is going to go something like this. It needs to hang off the edge, so the eggs are probably still a little bit too big. And let's see. Okay, so it's going to be something like this. You can change the angle after you get it drawn. It now needs a lot of editing to make it look even remotely ear-like. And everything I've got in here is currently a corner point, and it really needs to be a curve point. So you could go point by point and edit those as you're working. Once they're selected, you can mirror them, make them rounded. If you have multiple selected at once, the good news is that it will allow you to curve those quickly as a unit, and that is helpful. That one should not be mirrored. So let's go backward and do disconnected on there. And then I'll do sort of the same thing with the bottom ones. A lot of people do better by this method that I'm demoing, rather than simply trying to draw it with the curve points, because they get sort of caught up in all the loops and so forth. It's fine to do it this way, so long as you don't put too many points in it when you're drawing it initially. Really space out the points and only try to put one where there's a substantial directional change, and that is a very helpful approach to take when you are using the tool. That one needs to be a disconnected one because it needs to get nice and pointy at the bottom. And I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit more so I can continue editing. This ear, when this is the tip of the ear, needs to be longer and pointier. And so I'm going to move the points around to shape it. And this is mostly just trial and error to figure out when it is starting to work a little bit better. Mine's hanging off the edge of my page effectively, so I'm going to have to work on the scaling some more as I go, but I'm able, using the white arrow, to reposition these and make it a little bit more the look that I'm after. I have a few places where I have too many points. If you have too many or not enough, this is where the pen tool comes in. You can go to one of them where you have an active point, and it is kind of particular. It does not want that one to, okay, yeah, it'll let me do it after I click on it a couple times. And it allows you to sort of improve the look of a path that maybe isn't quite right for some reason, if it has too many points or not enough points or something along those lines. Mine is basically too thick, and a lot of what I've been doing is just narrowing it so that it's less bulky. That point is not needed. And I've got at least one more that's not needed. And so we're getting closer to the look that we're after, inspired by that original Easter Bunny drawing or graphic. I'm going to scooch this fully back on the screen so you can see it. And that's what it's looking like now. So again, a good bit closer. I think the incredibly bright magenta is not the best color option for this. I could much more nicely pick a softer color. It starts to look a little bit more Eastery or springy at that point because it's not so bright. And then there's a couple more things that would help the look here become a bit more consistent. That one needs to be divided. It's the width as much as anything. It's just not delicate enough to read as an ear at the moment. It should be curved and it should be less thick. And this part should be a little bit less bulky as well. All right, so that's getting me a lot closer to the shape that I was after. I need a second ear that's not going to be bent, so the other ear is actually a good bit easier in terms of that. Got some scaling and adjusting still to do so that this will fit correctly, but I'm going to put it somewhere right there. I know the tip looks strange hanging off the edge, but it's the best I can do for the moment. And I'm going to do the right hand ear and then hopefully finish this up. And again, I'm going with the click approach, and then I will convert these to curve points once I have the object that I need. All right, so that's the components. I'm going to pick color-wise something that makes sense, and obviously it's hanging off the edge and it looks crazy, so I will need to move it down to the point that I can see what I'm doing. It looks completely nuts. It's too thick, it's too angular, it's too everything, and I know I'm going to have to deal with all of those things. using the shift key to select multiple points at once. Just the conversion does an awful lot to help with the look. Doesn't fix everything, but it does a lot. And from here, it is a matter of really adjusting the points until they're a bit more consistent with the inspiration. They're just too bulky right now. And the center part is too large, and so forth and so on. I think I'm going to scale it a little bit right now because it is so big that it gets tough to tell when it's closer. And the same, that is a lot better just being scaled. And so I'm going to move them closer together. And see when we have what we need. I would be better off this. We're in other orientation right now, but anyway, so we've got the bunny ears on the upper part. We have the eggs on the lower part, and we're going to need the text, but this is getting where we need to graphically speaking. So I'm going to pause it, tweak it a tiny bit more, and then finish this one up. And this will be what you need for this particular assignment when I'm done.